In this second video I'm going to show you how you can extend the use of VBA to some of the series options available in different chart types. So again, until now all we've been able to do is to modify to set up a chart and modify its properties using a mixture of the property sheet for things like chart type, titles, background, axes, titles and so on, and then the chart settings task pane to do things with the individual series or the data as a whole in terms of the axes. So with this particular chart I've got three series. Access sets the names of those when you define the data source, which in this case is a table, and it's found three different chart series here, which it's calling some of trials, some of basic and some of premium. I cannot change those. What I can do though is to change the display name, and the display name is what is shown in the legend there, in this case trials, basic and premium. Fairly obvious, and I've set those ones there. Now if we go to form view, then we've now got the same chart and we've now got a series of options that allows me to change some of the things that were in those different settings and property sheet options. For example, here we're starting with a column stack chart and we can change the order from none to ascending or descending. Now to be clear, when we've got more than one series, it chooses the final series as the sort order that is actually defined here. So at the moment we've got no sorting on the final series, which is premium, the dark red colour here. If we change this to ascending, then not much difference in terms of the appearance, but it's now got each of these in ascending order of size, and if we change it to descending, in descending order of size. Of course that may or may not be the same for the other two series there. That will affect the entire chart, so whichever way we choose, none, ascending or descending, all the series are affected equally. We're on the first series here, which is called Trials. The colour of that is at the moment that blue colour there. I can choose the colour picker here and I can change the colour of that instantly as seen there. I can also choose to display a data label on that particular chart if I wish to, and I don't need to choose to have that on all of those there. I can change the series display name, which I set in the property sheet earlier, to something that is not particularly friendly there. I'm going to change that back again, but you can change it to whatever you want. It will default to the series name that is set by Access itself. The grid lines, you'll notice that the grid line type for this series is set to none, and again the grid lines are set to the final series of the group shown in this particular chart. So if I just move off here, that will change back to trials there. So we've got now purple for this one. I'm going to change to the next series, and I'll put this in grey to indicate the fact that this can't change. If I try to, I'll get an error message. So the basic chart is that sort of orangey brown colour there, and again no grid line there, although the default when I did set this up earlier was as grey, and let's set the display data label for that one as well. And again we have no charts, no grid lines for this one. For the premium one, which is the dark red, let's add the data labels there, and you can see more clearly what I meant by that's now set up in a certain order. And if we change this here, it's already in ascending order, descending order, ascending order. You can see the numbers there are increasing. If we change it to none, by the way, it puts it in category order here for the x-axis there. Now with this last one, we've got the major grid line type set, and it's set to this grey colour here. The idea with grid lines is that they should act as markers. They shouldn't be too obtrusive. I can, if I prefer, have major and minor, and we've got we've got thicker grey for the major lines and thinner grey for the minor lines, but it's all the same colour, and that's normally the way that you would choose to do that. But there is another way we can choose as well. So if we go to the major again, and I'm going to change the grid line colour as well. Now as I said, although you'd want it normally to be fairly unobtrusive, I'm going to make it very obvious this time. something you wouldn't necessarily want to choose to do in a standard graph, but you can do so here. And now I'm going to change to another series here, and I'm going to set up the minor chart, and you can see its default is grey there. Well, let's make it more obvious what I've done there by changing that to something different, something equally hideous. And now you can see something that is very much in your face and not necessarily appropriate for a chart, but it's showing you the idea that if you wanted to, you can change the major and minor grid lines to be different colours there, if that suits your needs. There's other things you can do as well for this particular chart type, including trend lines and so on, but that will do there. But now we've set that up, let's go looping through again, and you can see it will loop through each of these charts, and you'll see in some cases the grid lines will appear, in other cases they won't. For donuts, pie and so on, I'll show you in a future video how we can set up the options for that. They're not shown in this particular case, but you can see for this particular chart some of these options are better than others. Having the values on the chart may or may not be suitable, having the grid lines may or may not be suitable, but you can see the idea as we loop through the different chart types. And we're nearly there now. Let's let it get to the end. You can see horizontal and vertical grid lines there. And a few more, and then it will actually stop. Things like box whisker and some of the other new types that are perhaps harder to understand how to use well, I'll show you those in future videos. That's all for now. Thank you again. See you soon.